Yo, what up, guys? It's been a long time. How's it going? Hang on, let me take the name off of here. And let me turn off the sound on my computer. There we go. How's it going? Some shout outs here. MF Doom, Matt Villain, thank you so much for coming on here. Thank you very much for the information that you sent me for months, man. Um, we've been watching T Lab, The Last American Vagabond. Shout out to him. He's been going deep into the studies here with the peer-reviewed studies that the mainstream media is not talking about regarding COVID. We got Propaganda Live in here. We got Anthony. What up? What up? So we're doing a pirate stream here because I don't want my channel to get taken down. But how are you guys? Let me check the Rockfin chat over here. We got Fred Edward. Thank you very much for all the stuff you've been sending as well. By the way, mic check. Can you guys hear me well? We got Liam Hennessy. We got War Deer Entertainment. Hassan Johnson. I was trying to connect to Odyssey, but it's a little bit more difficult. I gotta figure that out later down the line. But I can upload this whole debate onto Odyssey later on. This is the first time I'm doing a pirate stream on YouTube. It's great to have you guys here. So here's how this is gonna work. As soon as Vaush calls, because he's giving me a call via Discord, as soon as that happens, you're gonna hear him. I have my speakers on in my phone, and I'm also going to play his live stream, like right here. I should start looking for his video also. He called me angry, debating angry Twitter guy. All right. Let me add this. There you go. Now you guys can see him. I'll add him right here in this corner. There you go. Where am I? What about like this? All right, there we go. Yeah, guys, this is about mandates. It's not about people's choices on whether they want to get a vaccine or not, right? I respect people's decision on whether they want to get one or not. I'm for informed consent, and I think as long as there is a risk that exists out there, as we know, as according to reports that have been coming in via VAERS and Veggie Access, which is what the World Health Organization uses, and even the CDC acknowledges myocarditis, several other They acknowledge adverse effects could happen. As long as that possibility, as long as those risks exist, people should have a choice. They should have freedom to weigh out uh, their options. I think that's fair. Thank you very much, Trey Wright, for the Super Ray. I really appreciate that. Thank you very much, Anthony, for the Super Ray. Happy New Year to you as well. Happy New Year to everybody. We are, what, 2 days away from New Year's Eve? 3 days away from the new year. One thing I am worried about with this debate is finding all the sources that I have up. Like I have so many tabs open, plus I have more links to show. To show. In addition to that, 'Vaush will bring up a lot of hypotheticals. I'll see how to engage with those as they come up. But what's important is to stick to the main argument. All right, we got 3 minutes. Three minutes, guys. Thank you. Two more minutes. Looks like you got up to go somewhere. Make sure you share this link out, guys. I don't think a lot of people know that this is being pirate streamed on YouTube with only 7 people watching. We do have a decent number of people watching on Rockfin. But yeah, make sure you share that out. Oh, 40 people watching. All right, we got less than a minute left, guys. All right, should get a call soon. Let me see. I guess he's attempting to make the call. Oh, he's bringing his cat on. What up, Robert? Said poor cat. You guys should check out Robert Durden's channel. He has some good content on there. He's been on this show also. Uh, is he trying to look for me or something on Discord? Because I'm waiting here. I told him what my Discord account is. I guess he's about to make the call now. I see him using his phone. We're waiting for you, Vaush. We're not 3 minutes in. Friend sent. Accept and we will talk. I don't see it here. Let me see. Ah, I see. All right. Let me get the mic closer here so you guys can hear. He's showing stuff about Hassan Piker. Alright, Alex, is Vaush gonna have a mysterious audio issue again? What's up, ICU? You know what? Just gonna go ahead and call him. Can you guys hear that? Let me know in the chat. Yeah, Joaquin, that's his stream in the corner down there. Alright, cool. If you guys can hear, that's good. Call is ongoing. Just waiting for him to join it. Hello?
Howdy.
Can you hear me well?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine. How you doing?
I'm doing well, man. Thanks for having me on. Let me just make sure my stream can hear you. Can you guys hear him? Let me know in the chat.
Hold on. I think judging from the contrast between your mic here and your mic on your stream, I wonder if Discord is picking up the right microphone. Would you mind checking that for me?
Sure, why does it sound echoey on your end?
It just sounds like a default low quality laptop mic or something like
Yeah,
that.
that's because I'm using my phone. Is that all right?
Oh, for the Discord call?
Yeah, I'm using my phone for the Discord call. Is that all right?
Oh, that's fine. If it's what works with your setup, that's fine. Just trying to optimize with what we have. You do sound well enough.
All right, sounds good. Yeah, so you want to talk about mandates, jab mandates?
Yeah. Well, it was a couple of things, right? So for context, you know, I encountered you
Mm-hmm.
when you posted a Twitter clip where it was me saying I was an Antifa informant, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I really do have to ask though. You didn't think that was like serious when you posted that clip, right? Like
I
you
don't know if it
recognize.
was. I don't know if it was. Right now, I can tell you I can't prove that. At the end of the day, what matters is the things that you say on your show. And so people should just make their judgments off of that. I can't prove whether you're an informant or not. I hope that's clear. Like I can't debate you on that. Like I would have to show evidence for that.
Oh yeah, no, you couldn't. It's just like it's kind of like a cycle because people call me CIA, backed by the State Department. Usually, people politically aligned with you, right? Do you think it's fair to say you're kind of politically aligned with the Jimmy Dore gray zone crowd, right? Like you would be fine with me saying you're sort of in a similar wedge of the political space.
I would go case by case because there are some stuff that we agree on, but not everything. I was covering the COVID stuff before Jimmy and the Gray Zone were. Um, I would have to sit down and like make a list and see like what checks off and what doesn't check off.
Gotcha. Well, apparently you got like yoinked from YouTube for it, didn't you? Or something like that. I remember were saying you gotten in some kind of trouble for your COVID
Yeah,
takes.
I got a strike when I talked about Joe Rogan having on Sanjay Gupta. But other channels talked about it also, but their channels didn't get yoinked or given a strike. I got a strike, or yeah, I got a strike. I still have a warning. First, I can't remember what the other reason was.
Gotcha. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah. What's your name, by the way? Because
You can call
chat
me
knows.
Franco, Franco of Frank
Franco.
Analysis. Yeah.
And they also want to know your pronouns, so they're not uncouth.
I go by he, him.
All right, thank you.
Hmm.
They're touchy about that sometimes. Anyway, yeah, it's just there's this narrative, or it gets repeated. I don't know how much of it is satirical. That I'm like CIA, FBI, State Department, et
Hmm.
cetera, et cetera. So at this point, I pretty much just lean into it, you know, because it's quite funny. Given that I'm just a YouTuber, I mean, I just record videos out of my house. The idea that I'm part of some big like government operation is really really funny. So that was the reason why, you know, the informant comments, comments like that, similar ones at least, we make pretty often, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, again, I'm not here to debate you on that. Like, I don't have evidence to back that up.
No, no, yeah, I'm just
Yeah.
explaining it. But you want to talk about the Fauci ouchie, as it were.
Ouchie, ouchie. Well, I'm here to talk about some articles, peer-reviewed articles, some other evidence I've come across, and I wanted to get some of your thoughts on that. But I also want to ask you a question first, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean,
so you debated or had a discussion with Michael Tracy back in, I think it was like June last year about Black Lives Matter,
yeah.
and you were of the stance that the gatherings that were happening outside for Black Lives Matter were not contributing to the spread of COVID. So do you
Yes,
still
that
stand
seemed to
by
be the
that?
case.
Okay. You still stand by that?
I haven't looked at the data since that debate. At the
Okay.
time, the data did favor that. I don't know if anything's changed since then.
Okay. So do you think that gatherings like that should continue?
Well, I think if it's for the right cause, you know, I
Okay.
think the Black Lives Matter stuff was severe and immediate enough that it warranted those protests. I don't think they had a negative effect on COVID transmission either, for a couple of reasons. First of all, they're almost always outdoors, those protests, you know,
Yeah.
back when they were really happening. A lot of people did distance and wear masks within them. Obviously, you know, the pictures that we took of the BLM protests were mostly of like the biggest ones where people are packed in on city streets, but a lot of them were a lot more, you know, spread out. And then finally, the existence of major protests discourages other people from going outside of their houses because they're afraid of their safety, which is a pretty common thing during protests. So it had an adverse effect on other people's virus transmission.
All right. Sorry, I was taking a sip of water. So you don't think it contributed to it because people were masking up, it was outside. So do you think that if people go outside and stuff, should they be showing like their vaccine passport?
To go outside? No,
Yeah.
probably not. That seems a bit excessive, I think.
Okay. What about outside concerts and stuff, like gatherings like that?
Um, I guess, I mean, the COVID card mandates are done on a state by state level. If there was a state that mandated that in order to go to a concert, like in order for a concert venue to be hosted, you needed to present that, I don't know if I'd be against that. I think that'd be acceptable, yeah.
Okay, so no requirements for vaccine if you go to an outside concert. No, you don't have to show your vaccine passport for that. Uh,
No, I'd be fine with a state with a state doing that, yeah,
oh,
to
with
make it so that if you went to one, you would have to show a vaccine passport.
okay. So I'm of the stance that people should be able to weigh out their options. Like if they think that they be allergic to something on it, um, in the vaccine, they shouldn't have to take it. Or even if they see that there's a risk, given things that we've seen in bears, even the CDC acknowledging that myocarditis is a risk as well as other adverse effects. If there's a possibility of people getting a negative adverse effect, they should have the freedom to choose whether they get the vaccine or not. Is that a fair stance?
Oh, sure, yeah, they have the freedom to. The government doesn't currently mandate we take any vaccine, as far as I know. It's only a prerequisite for accessing certain institutions.
Okay. So so you don't think that everybody should get a vaccine then?
Well, I think everyone who can should. I think the number of people who have adverse effects or have a risk for adverse effects is very low. But one of the reasons we need everyone to get a vaccine is because those few people who can't are that much more vulnerable, right? They tend to have immunodeficient diseases, so we need to be that much more careful with them.
Okay. So why should somebody lose their job if say they don't want to take the vaccine?
Why should others, coworkers, be put at risk by being exposed to a person who refuses to inoculate
So
themselves?
how do you know that they're at risk from that unvaccinated person if they can also get it from a vaccinated person?
Because unvaccinated people, it seems, are more likely to transmit it. Not by a tremendous amount, admittedly, since Delta and Omicron, even vaccinated people are transmitting it a good bit more. But an unvaccinated person is also an incubus for a much greater likelihood of of COVID mutations. So it goes beyond just, whether you can get it in that moment, and also goes towards sort of broader social concerns. I also think there is something worth saying here about like the right of the employer, right? I feel like if I was employing, not incubus, sorry, a petri dish. I feel like if I was an employer, I probably wouldn't want to have unvaccinated people working for me. If they're more likely to get sick, they're more likely to die. They have, other concern. Even if they do get sick with the same likelihood, they're more likely to be in the hospital. I mean, it seems like a huge liability. We should probably be encouraging everyone to be getting vaccinated.
Okay. So let me show you something from the Lancet. You don't mind showing my screen real quick so you guys can see, people in your stream can see what I'm showing.
Just link it over to me, and I'll give it a look. I'll follow along. I'm a good listener.
Okay. Just give me a second because I have a lot of stuff here. So
Gotcha.
let me pick it up. Copy and paste over to you. I sent it to your Twitter. So study
Gotcha.
from the Lancet.
All right, let me see. Community transmission and viral load kinetics of the SARS-CoV-2 Delta variant in vaccinated and unvaccinated individuals in the UK, a prospective longitudinal cohort study.
Yeah, let me share the main thing here. Hang on. Um, so over in the interpretations, vaccination reduces the risk of Delta variation infection and accelerates viral clearance. So that's in the individual, right? Nonetheless, fully vaccinated individuals with breakthrough infections have peak viral loads similar to unvaccinated cases and can efficiently transmit infection in a household setting, including to fully vaccinated contacts. So your protection may be reduced, but your chances of getting it from an unvaccinated or unvaccinated person, there's no significant difference there, according to this study.
Let me see. Peak
Okay.
viral load similar to unvaccinated cases and can efficiently transmit infection in household settings, including fully vaccinated. Host virus infection may shape the entire viral. I don't think this means. I don't think this means that the likelihood is identical. And in household settings, kind of suggests the intimacy of like a shared interior space. I think this is only saying that with Delta, fully vaccinated people can transmit the disease to other people. Which is true, of course, but you're going to see lesser expressions of this problem at basically every level. If everyone in a workplace is vaccinated, fewer people are likely to get the disease, to transmit the disease, to experience severe consequences of those disease, everything. Whereas if there are some people who aren't vaccinated, the risks just go up generally.
So you said a key word there, and you're right about that. They're not identical, but they found no significant difference. So the likelihood of you getting that from a vaccinated or unvaccinated person, there's no difference. Your chances of like the vaccine is like for yourself, your chances of getting it that may be reduced. So you understand what I mean? Like there's two different things there. What happens to
Variables
you
related.
and whether it can be transmitted, whether an unvaccinated or unvaccinated or a vaccinated person can transmit it to you.
I'm not sure if the study necessarily says that. Um, the um, the only thing I'm seeing here that says indicates no significant difference is saying it does not necessarily indicate no significant difference. I think what this is essentially saying is that in household environments, at least, so we can extrapolate this to non-household environments to an extent, but
Yeah.
even with a person who's vaccinated, the viral load can become significant enough at peak that you can have significant rates of transmission. But I don't think this is an indication that all of the variables are identical or perfectly aligned, that you're as likely to get sick or as likely to transmit the disease yourself. Um, you know,
Do you know how likely someone is to get the disease from a vaccinated versus unvaccinated person?
from this study or in general,
In
I
general.
imagine there are plenty of different studies that have different numbers there.
Do you have any right now on hand that you can use to back up your claim?
No, the claim that there is a difference in the viral transmission of vaccinated and non-vaccinated people.
Mm-hmm.
Keep keep in mind that what we're looking at here is only the case if the vaccinated person in question actually gets sick. With that high of a viral load, we're talking about a sick vaccinated person, but that's much less likely to happen for a vaccinated person than an unvaccinated person. So in the conditions that we're looking in this study, we're looking at a sick vaccinated person and a sick unvaccinated
Mm-hmm.
person. But if unvaxxed people are much more likely to get sick, then there are pre-existing variables that aren't taken into account here.
Do you know by how much they're more likely to get sick?
Um, a person who is unvaccinated as opposed to vaccinated,
Yeah.
I think they're at least twice as likely, given the same conditions, to get sick. Depends on whether you've had the booster or not. Now, Omicron, of course, is resetting these numbers a good bit.
Okay, so that's just your speculation though. Like we got to look at what the evidence says to back that claim up.
Right. Do you have contrary information?
I have some evidence here that I can show you. Like here is from Public Health Scotland. We're seeing here the age standardized rate of acute hospital admissions. So these are people that went to the hospital. This was broken down on the Last American Vagabond in more depth, where you can see that he calculated the percentages and everything. We see, what do you notice from the numbers here? Do you see that people that received 2 doses, there's more people that went to the
Well, I
hospital?
would I would need to see the study first.
Okay. You want, right. Let me send that to you. I forgot you're not watching my stream and I don't have you on as a guest.
My apologies.
Let me get that for you. All right, so I sent that to you.
Thank you kindly.
Yeah, so you go to page 41.
Page 41. My goodness.
I know. These things are
All
long.
right, hit me up.
So yeah, you see the numbers, right? Do you see that the numbers are higher in the people that received 2 doses, the hospitalization numbers, hospitalization admissions?
Yeah, but is this per capita or is this just like a flat number? Like,
It says
I
age
see that
standardized hospitalization rate per
for
100,000
100,000 with 95% confidence variables. Well, if we're taking a look
intervals.
at the standardized rate, it's lower for the two-dose people than for the unvaccinated people. Um, by standardized hospitalization rate, do they mean relative to the proportion of the population that has that many people of that level of vaccination?
It's per 100,000
Per 100,000 of the general population or per 100,000 of that group with that
of
level of
that group,
vaccination?
of that group.
Let me see. See. Per 100,000. I want to know that. Where does it say? Let me see. Age standardized hospitalization rates rates are per 100,000 people per week, as standardized to the 2013 European Standard Population, adjusted to only include individuals 16 or over. I think this is just general population. I don't know if this is the specific hospital group. Even if it was, though, the numbers go down significantly. If you look at the booster or third dose, the numbers down here are abysmally low.
Well, if we
5,
go by
6,
what you're
3, and 2
saying,
per
then
100,000.
it's because there's less people in the population that took the third boost. I mean,
But
the
if it's
third
per capita,
dose.
that wouldn't matter, right?
If it's per capita, yeah, it wouldn't matter. But that's something I got to look into. But the thing I want to show you here is that there are people that are double dosed that are getting this, right?
Well, yeah. Well, I'm not denying that. But all the numbers, including the ones that we're looking at right here, seem to indicate that if you get the more COVID shots that you get, the less likely you are to be sick, to be hospitalized. In terms of hospitalization rates, the likelihood of being hospitalized is way higher if you're not vaccinated. I think like these numbers are massively higher. Again, I think these are standardized
Okay.
just for the general population, which is the reason why the number for the booster or third dose is so low, in part because it's smaller relative to the number of people who have just had the 2 doses.
Okay.
I would
See,
have to see their methodology, but if we're looking at like relative levels of hospitalization, the rate is way worse for unvaccinated people. And then if you look at death, that is even more bad than that, you know?
do you have evidence to back that up though? Because you're just telling me that you think. So I would have to see where this is coming from. Otherwise, I would
Sure,
just
one
take that as
second.
an assumption.
One moment.
Okay.
Let's see, hospitalizations, COVID, vaxxed versus unvaxxed. I'm seeing quite a bit of data to this effect. Chad, if you would like to provide um, any fine data points here. Let me see. COVID-19 case rates among 35 to 64-year-old individuals are 4 times higher in the unvaxxed population than in the fully vaxxed population. Let's see, case rate, okay, that's 65 and older over there. Hospitalization rates, yeah, here we go. Okay, this is from the Department of Health. Let me send this over to you on Twitter. You can take this up right here.
Okay.
So if you scroll down to page 5, that's where things get started with the fancy graphs right here. It talks first about the COVID-19 case rating for different age groups. Young people, it's 3 times higher if you are unvaccinated. For middle-aged people, it's 4 times higher, and for oldies, it's 7 times higher. For the hospitalization rate, it's for young people 12 times higher, then 18, then 13 times higher, respectively, for between unvaccinated and vaccinated people. A pretty significant difference. If we look at deaths, then it goes up to 15 times higher in general, which is, quite bad.
Okay, so this is from Department of Health, Washington State. Okay, so this is
This
according to
is
them.
from my state.
Okay, and do you know how they tested the presence of COVID? Like, did they use PCR tests?
Let me see. Of what relevance is that, out of curiosity?
There's been a lot of false positives that have been reported with PCR, but the one from Scotland also uses that. A lot of countries use PCR, but something to take note of is that it produces a lot of false positives because let's say there's small fragments of the virus that's present. With polymerase chain reaction, you're amplifying the DNA, sometimes 100-fold. So sometimes you're getting tested positive for something that's not even there, or something that's been killed, or there's just small traces of the RNA strands.
The issue is that since we're using relative proportions, even if the type of COVID spotting had a bias, it wouldn't affect this data because we're talking about the relative proportions between different groups. If there was a propensity for false positives, then it would, at least to some extent, proportionally affect the results. There's no false positive bias that would lead to consistent multiple times increases in the COVID-19 rate for unvaccinated people across every age group to this degree with such consistency. I mean, I don't like it would. That wouldn't be a false positive. That would have to be like like a like a government conspiracy to to hide all the numbers and data and all that crap.
So you want to go back to the Scotland data that I sent, and you want to look at the uh, the number of confirmed COVID-19 related deaths on page 40, 48.
48. I love going to page 48. Let me see. Number of confirmed COVID-19 related deaths by vaccination status at time of test and age standardized mortality rate per 100,000. Let's see. And then we have these time periods, age standardized, death rate, death rate, death rate, death rate. The booster and third dose have a remarkably low number of deaths. The first dose have very little in total, but higher proportional amounts. Probably because fewer people are just one dose. All right, what are we looking for here?
There's a high number of people that have died who took 2 doses. So it's not really protecting them that much from death.
I'm pretty sure that it is. First of all, if we're looking at the booster or third dose, it pretty clearly says right there. In terms of the per capita numbers, it looks like there's some variance here depending on the time period. But I have to admit, where is this data from?
Public Health Scotland.
I wonder about this.
Okay.
The number of deaths here listed are very small. We've had 800,000 deaths in the United States. I know Scotland has fewer COVID.
Oh, that's because they're looking at it week by week since November 13th through, and then they're looking at it for in the past 4 weeks. So if you add up all the deaths, though, the number's going to be higher.
Right. But if we're looking at it week by week, the U.S. loses thousands of people every week, every day, tens of thousands every week to COVID-19. Whereas these numbers for the entire week of November 13th to November 19th, 2021, add up to, across all the groups, less than 100, which is odd to me.
So where'd you see that it's tens of thousands of deaths in the U.S. every week?
I'm sorry?
Where did you find that it's 10,000 deaths in the U.S. every week?
You can look up COVID deaths in the U.S. per week.
On just Google, I can type it up and I can see like 10,000 deaths per week.
If you can see it, you can see a chart. COVID deaths, and then if you roll over it, you get a 7-day average.
Okay, let me look that up through Google. COVID deaths.
I am overstating tens of thousands. Right now, it's
okay.
It's in the several thousands.
Several thousands. Okay.
Oh no, wait. I'm sorry. I'm an idiot. My bad. 7-day average doesn't mean average of the week. 7-day average means the past 7 days divided by 7. I'm an idiot. Sorry. No, yeah, it would be right now the past. Yeah, no. Yeah, from December 28th. Yeah, the 7-day average would indicate that it's been about 10,000 over the past week. Okay, yeah, I knew the numbers were higher than that. Yeah, about 10,000 in the past week. Yeah.
Okay. And do you know how many of these are from COVID versus with COVID?
Well, they're listed as what you're doing right now is you're inferring conspiracy.
How?
These are listed as COVID-19 deaths. So what reason would you have to believe that they're not caused by COVID-19?
They've stated that here. Let me show you the article where they've stated that. It's not really conspiracy. I'm just going off of what I've seen reported. So not this Fauci thing. Is it here? What counts as a COVID death? There is still no consensus about the exact number of people who have been killed by the disease. The official tally is more than 725,000. That was in October 21st, 2021. This is in Politico. Let me send that over to you. Oh, my bad. I forgot to send it over to you.
What source are you reading from right now?
This is on Politico. It says what counts as a COVID death. Maybe you can beat me to it as I find it listed here.
Right. Of course, there is going to be no way of determining objectively what exactly constitutes a COVID-19 death. Technically, like death from any cause is going to be really difficult to objectively determine. If you're hit by a car, and later you die of heart failure, what do you list that as? Like concussive force, vehicular accident, heart failure. With COVID-19, the disease causes a breakdown of your internal organs. If a person is damaged by something else but then dies while having COVID-19, does the COVID-19 hasten their death? Did it cause them to be physically weaker? Would they have survived it if it weren't for the fact that they had COVID-19? There's always going to be some variance there, but from everything I've seen, it seems like the current reporting of COVID deaths is fairly faithful to the death was caused by COVID.
Okay, so that's based off of what you believe, though, right?
Do you have any
So do
evidence to
you?
contradict that?
No, I'm just saying that it is inflated, though, right?
How so?
Because they can count here. Let me show you this clip. This is from Dr. Ngozi Ezike, and I can quote her here and what she said, and I'm playing this on my stream. Huh?
Is this a single doctor? Is this published anywhere?
It is. It was I forgot where she said this, but I mean, people can confirm this for themselves and make judgments off of this and do their own research, but
Well, we're sharing, I thought we were looking at data and studies here. If we're going to claim that the number of COVID deaths is overinflated, I mean, I don't want a one doctor. There are lots of doctors, Is there any research? Why would you
let me just say what she said.
She's
She's the director of the Illinois Department of Public Health.
And she's a person, not a single peer-reviewed article, right?
Right, yeah. I'm just saying that this is something we should take with a grain of salt. So is it all right if I just say what she said?
Sure, but after you're done, I'm going to make the case that the number of COVID deaths is underreported.
Okay. I'll like to hear your claim for that, and what you say to back that up. But she said, I just want to be clear in terms of the definition of people dying of COVID. The case definition is very simplistic. It means at the time of death, it was a COVID positive diagnosis. That means that if you were in hospice and had already been given a few weeks to live, and then you also were found to have COVID, that would be counted as a COVID death. It means technically, even if you died of clear alternate cause, but you had COVID at the same time, it's still listed as a COVID death. Everyone who is
evidence of that claim?
Evidence of that claim. Let me find. There's case studies to that. I mean, single things that are reported, right? But
well, I would love to see some evidence to that effect.
Sure, let me find that real quick.
There's no way to objectively determine what exactly killed a person in every instance, so I wouldn't be surprised if there were some cases where it may have been attributed to COVID.
You acknowledge it's possible, though, right?
And the reverse is also possible, but that doesn't prove a trend. See, I could say.
Okay, so one second. So you're saying that the reverse is possible, and that somebody died of something else, but they could have had COVID, but it was just never tested.
That a person could die of COVID, but not have the death attributed as such. I think that is
that it's not counted as COVID.
Yes.
Okay.
Both could be the case. There's going to be variance in either direction. But if you have to prove a trend, you need more than just the knowledge that it could happen, right? So, for example, lots of old people die of COVID. How many people out there in the Midwest in America, 85-year-old boomers, died of COVID? They just had a cough for a little while, wrapped it bad, died in their home bed that they've been sleeping in for 85 years, and then just got whisked off to the morgue, never had a doctor look at them. I'd be willing to bet probably a good number of people had a cough, then died, and it was never medically reported on. And it's not like they're doing autopsies and all these, boomer bodies or whatever. It's entirely possible that the numbers are off by a bit. But the best way to find out how many people have died of COVID-19 in America is by looking at excess mortality. That's the best way to do it. And those do reaffirm, more or less, the existing number of COVID deaths.
Okay. 1 second. Let me find at least a case study that I found from the Guardian. Oh no, it wasn't here. It was in this document. I got so many links up here. It's hard to. It's easy to lose track.
I wonder why. I wonder why you're looking at the information you're looking at. The idea that unvaccinated people die more often than vaccinated people to COVID-19 is so unambiguously accepted everywhere that the idea that you would try to challenge it is very strange to me. It suggests to me that you're not interested in understanding the pandemic. You're interested in disproving it. You have biases that you're not taking into account when you look at this information.
Right. So we can't really prove it one way or the other then, right?
No, the excess mortality
Because
numbers
you
pretty
brought up
clearly
your
indicate that
example of
there's been a
somebody could have died of something else and then it doesn't get counted as a COVID death when in reality it was a COVID death. But that was just an
yes.
example you brought up that something that you just I don't know made up in your head. I don't know what else to call it because I didn't see like any evidence to
So
that.
the
So
point that I'm making is that we can make cases in both directions, and the best way to
right.
settle that is by looking at the excess mortality
All right.
numbers for the United States.
So I would have to compile all these different case studies. So I sent you one.
You don't need to
Um,
compile case studies. Why, if,
why not?
actually, wait, I'll ask you. How many
Okay.
people do you think have died of COVID-19?
Oh, I can show you that. One second. Oh, we can easily look that up too. I have that here somewhere.
I can as well. It's, what is it,
Yeah.
850,000 now? What do you think the number is for the United States?
In the United States, it's between 700 something thousand to 800,000.
Oh, sure. Yeah, then we're talking about, okay, it's not exactly the existing number, but yeah, okay.
Yeah, but
Yeah, we,
a
we,
lot of those could be false positives from PCR, right?
no, 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 I mean like really died. Like how
Really
many people
died
have really died from COVID-19?
with it, from it. That needs to be differentiated, right?
I'm asking you to differentiate. Because of COVID-19, how many more people do you think have died that wouldn't have otherwise?
How many? One second. I'm trying to understand what you just asked. Can you repeat that again, please?
Yeah, if it, how many people do you think died because of COVID-19? How many additional deaths did the existence of COVID-19 bring about?
Additional deaths as opposed to deaths that wouldn't have happened other like anyway. Okay, I get what you're asking now. I don't know. I would have to look at the numbers in order to say.
It just, it seems odd to me, that so many of the people who are anti-mandate and anti-vax are also like really weird about the reliability of the numbers concerning COVID. Like there's a holistic opposition they have to the whole business as opposed to, sort of a principled evaluation of the information. I mean,
I'm showing you information
you,
right here.
I'm Fauci pilled, I've gotten the ouchie. Why should I not, like, why should I oppose the mandates? Why should I oppose the vaccine? Like,
Because
what
do you
about my
acknowledge that a risk
philosophy?
exists of adverse effects? And I have data here on how many people have died, like the infection fatality rate. If you want me to go over some of these studies that I have here, peer reviewed
The
studies.
adverse effects,
Okay.
the adverse effects for the vaccine.
No, no, no. I have infection fatality rate, so people who have died from COVID.
Right. So,
So, no, do you want me to go over some of those
children have
numbers? Because we
died,
were
right?
talking about just now about how many people have died from this.
Well, oh, yeah. So, how many people?
All right, let me show you that real quick. Let me share screen because it's another window. And then I'll send you the link as well. This is a study that is by Ioannidis. One second on the European Journal of Clinical Investigation. If you can beat me to the punch in finding it before I send it over to you. And there's another one also that was published
So,
in the International Journal of Infectious Disease.
what are we demonstrating with this?
How many people have died from COVID? Because you asked how many people I think have died from it. This is giving us the infection fatality rate.
Well, this first article that you've given me was published in late 2020, so I
Right, but we can make an estimate, right? We can make an estimate of just the rate at which people are dying.
No, since then the Delta variant and then the Omicron have come out. I don't think any of this. I don't think it's relevant at all to the modern situation. Why are you even looking at information this old?
Because it gives us an idea of how many people have died, the infection fatality rate. Right, since
We
then, haven't
already
people picked up natural immunity? Haven't people also
we
been vaccinated? So haven't wouldn't that assume that their chances of dying have been reduced if they picked up immunity?
the chances of people dying if they're fully vaccinated are still, I think, quite low. But the
But
chances of
that's
people
just
who
your
are
assumption.
unvaccinated dying,
That's you saying I
no.
think. And you might be right, but you can't just keep saying I think. You got to bring up evidence to back up your claims.
Hold on. I don't think this has anything to do with what I was talking about. When we're talking about how many people have died, don't you agree that seeing how many more have died in a country than you would expect is a good way of ascertaining the death toll of a pandemic? Because the excess mortality rate in the United States from March 8th, 2020 to November 20th, 2021 is greater than the number of people who have died of COVID officially. The excess mortality rate is over 1 million. And I think, to me, that actually is a pretty strong argument in favor of the idea that we're underreporting
Out
the
of how
number of
many
people who die
people?
of COVID-19.
Out of how many people that are in the world? And this isn't me underestimate like
Out of what?
minimizing the deaths. Like out of how many people though
Out of
that
the
exist in the
population of the
world?
United States.
Okay. So let's give it your estimate, right? 800,000 out of 170 million people. How much is that?
330 million. And it's the
No, no,
largest mass death event in American
no.
history.
330 million Americans.
That's how many there are, isn't there?
Okay,
More or
so
less.
because you just said 170 not too long ago, 170,000, 170 million Americans. So let's divide the number of deaths of people with the total number of the population. So what percentage is that?
About 0.3%.
0.3%?
More or less. Is there a point you're getting to?
I'm saying that it's not 0.3%. It's point there's at least two zeros after the decimal.
It is not. 800,000 people out of about 330 million would be somewhere between 0.2 and 0.3%.
One
I can do
second.
the math really quickly. I'm a liberal arts major. You'll have to forgive me. 800,000 divided by 330 million. This answer is not very helpful because it's telling me million
Point
is fewer.
zero zero two. So I was right in my when I said that it's two zeros
So
after the decimal, right?
you know that when you count things in percentages, you move the decimal point two to the right, right? So
I
this would be
just did the
0.4%.
calculation here.
So
I
I
just
said
did the
zero.
calculation. 800,000 divided by 330 million is
Yes.
0.0024.
So this would be about 0.24%.
0.024%.
No, 0.24%.
Oh, right. Okay. I was thinking about the rate.
Which is quite a lot of people. In fact, it's nearly a million people. It's more people than the number of people who died in the Civil War, which was the previous largest mass death event, and it took less time too.
Yeah, and
See,
there's more
this
people
vote
that
like
died in 1918 flu.
this is what?
I was just pointing out that there's more people that died during that flu, during that pandemic in 1918.
I don't believe that's the case.
So you think more people have died with COVID than
Then
during
from the
the...
Spanish flu,
Hmm.
in the U.S., the Spanish flu killed about 675,000 people. So yes, that is fewer than COVID-19.
Out of the population, though.
Yes, as a percent, that killed more people. I don't know
Okay.
why you keep like moving the goalpost. Like
Oh no,
we're
I'm not moving the goalposts. I don't. We
we're
just started
18 to
talking
talk
about how
about
many
people's
people
died.
died from this. But my whole argument
The,
here, My whole
What
argument
is
here
the
is that if
argument? This
the
is a
possibility
large
of
number.
an adverse effect, if that exists, then people should have a choice, right?
They have a choice.
No, they don't. They can lose their job. They can lose their health
Yeah,
care,
that's their
right?
choice.
That's
You
not a
also
real
have the
choice.
choice
That's
to say
coercion.
yeah, and you also have the First
So
Amendment
you
right to say
acknowledge it's coercion then.
you have the First Amendment right to say the N word to your boss, but because of the implicit coercive effects of the modern day economy, you will lose your job if you do that, and you probably shouldn't do that.
But
I mean,
what?
fine.
So you're equating an offensive action with a person's choice whether to get vaccinated or not.
Well, the N word, to my knowledge, has killed 0 people directly, whereas COVID-19 has killed almost 1 million people. So actually, I'd say that it's like you're saying the N word 3 times in a row really fast. I mean, you're like really running it
But
out
you're
smoothly.
assuming that it's the unvaccinated's fault that people are dying.
It is because of the unvaccinated that the disease is rampaging through our country.
Where's your
Yes,
evidence that it's because of the unvaccinated that that's why the
the fact
disease
that
is rampaging?
cases, hospitalizations, and deaths are all higher for the unvaccinated by a
How does that
significant
change the
margin.
fact that it's the unvaccinated that are driving this? That just means that the
Because
unvaccinated are more at risk of dying from it, based
because
off of
they're
what
more
you're
likely to
saying.
get it as well. They're also
We
much more
just looked
likely
at
to
the
be.
Lancet study, which showed that people with who are unvaccinated or vaccinated have similar viral loads.
If they're already sick, but
Right.
unvaccinated
So
people
if you're
are far
sick, then
more
you just
likely
stay
to get
home.
sick.
If you're sick, then you stay home, right?
No, because you can
Why can't you?
transmit the virus before you demonstrate any visible
Do
symptoms
you
of
know the
infection.
significance of asymptomatic spread?
Fairly significant.
You're saying fairly significant, but you're not backing that up with anything.
I'm sorry, do you have any data to suggest that asymptomatic spread is not something we should concern ourselves with?
The burden is on you, right? The thing is we don't know. That's
Okay,
the whole
then
point.
I said, no, we do know. It is a fact that you can
You're
spread
saying
the
it's a
disease
fact, but you're
before you
not showing me
demonstrate any
anything. You're
symptoms.
not showing me how significant it is.
What, see, this is the problem that I have, okay? There's no evidence that I can show you. You've already made up your mind. You're asking me to provide evidence for things that have been like CDC mandate for 2
But where
years
did the
now.
CDC
And
get
whereas
their
every previous
where did the
thing that we've
CDC
gone
get their
through,
information from?
like if I showed you proof of the severity of asymptomatic spread, then you would go, okay, and then we'd move on to like the next thing. Like there's no point we're building to here.
But then you're helping me. You're helping me look at what you're seeing. Then you're helping me.
That's a remarkably charitable view of my view towards you. To be more realistic about my feelings
So
toward you, I
you're
show
not going
you
to show
what I
evidence
think
of
about it.
the significance of asymptomatic spread. If you don't know, then just say you don't know. It's
We've been here
okay.
now like 40. I know that it is. If you have
But you're saying
here's
I know, but you're not providing anything to back it up.
here. All right. Here's a U Chicago study. Asymptomatic coronavirus infections contribute to over 50% of spread. Here, I'll send it to you
Okay.
over Twitter. There you go.
All right. So one study. You
There's an
got one
older
study.
article from before Omicron and midway through Delta as well, so it's possible the effect is more severe now.
All right. That was
The research
quick.
team found the research team found that only 14 to 20% of COVID-19 individuals showed symptoms of the disease, and that more than 50% of community transmission was from asymptomatic and pre-symptomatic cases. So the fact that unvaccinated people are more likely to get sick does mean they are more likely to infect their coworkers.
Let me see. As health officials face another wave of COVID 19, they require estimates of the proportion of infected cases that develop symptoms and the extent to which symptomatic and asymptomatic cases contribute to community transmission. Recent asymptomatic testing guidelines are ambiguous. Using an epidemiological model that includes testing capacity, we show that many infections are non-symptomatic but contribute substantially to community transmission in the aggregate. Their individual transmissibility remains uncertain. If they transmit as well as symptomatic infections, the epidemic may spread at faster rates than current models often assume. If they do not, then each symptomatic case generates, on average, a high number of secondary infections than typically assumed. Regardless, controlling transmission requires community-wide interventions informed by extensive, well-documented asymptomatic testing. All right, so you provided one source here on that.
Would you like 39 more, good sir?
39. That's a bit of a bit excessive.
So
We'll
this is
just
what I
we'll
mean.
just
Like,
say
you know,
that it's possible. We'll just say that it could be contributing.
Okay. Hey, can we talk about the thing like that you actually care about? Because I know it's not COVID. Like, what is the actual issue at hand here?
Why are you changing the subject here? Like
I'm,
we're the
I'm
main
not.
thing that we're talking about is that
The actual.
I'm against mandates because there is a possibility of risks, right?
What risk are you talking about?
All right, let me show you real quick. Do you
What
know
are we
about
talking
veggie
about? The risk of
access?
vaccine?
Do you know about, yes, if you get the vaccine, there's a risk that you can get certain adverse effects.
Okay. What is the likelihood of that adverse effect taking place?
As long as a possibility exists, it should not be mandated. People should have
It is
informed
not
consent.
mandated.
People will lose
So
their
what was the?
jobs if they don't get the vaccine, right?
You realize there are adverse effects for the other vaccines that people get when they're infants, right? Like the ones that
Yeah,
they
and that's
sent to
why people are
infants.
given a choice and you don't have to show your vaccine status when you go inside of restaurants.
You can't go to school without those vaccinations.
One second.
And school is legally necessary. You need to be able to attend school. You need an education.
For like the measles and all that, right? And those have been around for how long?
Varyingly, some 20, 30, 40, 100 years.
Okay.
They
So
have
long-term
adverse
effects
effects,
of
yeah.
those are known.
And
It's a bit more conclusive than what we have here with these vaccines, in which what I
this
have
is
up here, I'm showing you, clinicaltrials.gov for Pfizer, the BioNTech vaccine. Clinical trials do not end until May 15, 2023.
okay.
Here's their emergency use authorization document. On page 52, vaccine enhanced disease, available data do not indicate a risk of vaccine enhanced disease and conversely suggest effectiveness against severe disease within the available follow-up period. However, risk of vaccine enhanced disease over time, potentially associated with waning immunity, remains unknown and needs to be evaluated further. In ongoing
Yeah.
clinical
And how do
trials
you
and in observational studies that could be conducted following authorization and or licensure.
how do you think we learned that data for the earlier vaccines?
Clinical trials. People were
You
told that they were part of
wait.
a trial. Are
Do you
we being
think we
told
did
here?
hold on? Do you think we did 40 years of clinical trials for all of those other vaccines that we now give to children before we like?
It certainly wasn't just a few months and then forcing people to take it. And if they don't
Hold
take
on.
it, then they lose
Let's
their
okay.
job.
Stop. We need to go through this one at a time. First of all, you already said that any risk is too much, which means that that opposition would include the vaccines that everyone gets when they're born. Additionally, if you think some vaccine risk is acceptable, fine, but you said none is. Already, you can't go to school if you don't have those vaccines. They're given to you essentially at birth. Secondly, the reason why this vaccination production took less time is because we've developed. Technology has moved on. This is a good thing. The idea that the vaccines right now are less reliable than the ones that came out a century ago
This is the
is
first time
not
they're
true.
using mRNA vaccines, and the
First
previous
of all, no,
trials
it's
were
not.
showed to be
That's
negative.
that's not
Moderna
true.
skipped animal
First of all,
trials in order to develop these vaccines.
they were put on emergency authorization
Right.
after
So
evidence was found that they were acceptable, and so far, all the available evidence shows they are as safe or more safe than we expected them to be. The likelihood of getting hurt via those vaccines is infinitesimally small compared to the likelihood of getting hurt by the ongoing pandemic. So, by any virologist standard, that is a victory right there. The mRNA vaccine model production is not this new scary thing that's never been shown or tested before. You don't get it, and I don't get it, because we're not epidemiologists, but that doesn't mean it's untrustworthy inherently. And
it
it
doesn't
proves
mean
that
we
a hell of a lot
can't
more than a vaccine
make
account of
judgments
worries.
based off of how we know our bodies. But let me go on and show you here. We said
Wait, I'm sorry,
this is
could you
something
repeat
here
that
from
sentence?
Reuters.
Wait, what was that?
It said we can make judgments based off of knowing how our bodies react to things. Many
No,
people are
actually,
Many people have
I understand.
autoimmune diseases, right? A lot of autoimmune
No,
diseases are underreported.
knowing how your body works does not mean that you have any meaningful information on the development of or safety of a
Why
vaccine.
can't you make judgments on yourself? Like many people, did you know many people are allergic to polyethylene glycol and don't even know it?
You can make judgments about yourself. That doesn't mean you can make
And
judgments
then
about
talk, and then
vaccines
also consult
themselves.
with a doctor.
You can do that. The number
And
of
then at
people
the end
who
of the
have
day, it's your choice
issues
whether
which
you
they
get
can.
it or not, right? Why is that not okay?
Why is not what? Why is what not okay?
Why is it not okay to consult with a doctor, perform your own research, and then make a judgment on your own on whether it's okay for you to get the vaccine or not?
You can, and if you decide to choose the wrong option, then people
Then
have the
you
right to
get you
judge you
get
for it.
punished. Oh, you didn't choose right.
That
So now you lose your job.
you
Now
realize
you can no. So we're killing people if they don't have health
are you
care. They lose their.
familiar?
So you don't care
Are
about
you
these people that lose
familiar
their
with the
health care.
concept?
One
Are you
second.
familiar?
Just
Are
answer
you
this one question.
familiar?
Just answer this one question. Do you care
Uh,
about people dying for losing their health care because they lost their job?
Other question. Do you care
So you
about
don't
the
want to answer
concept
it.
of a
So this,
concept?
I'll
Wait,
assume that
hold
you
on.
don't care about these
Wait.
people
Okay,
then.
you're just hold on. You realize, wait, because you're unfamiliar with some very basic stuff here. So it's possible to be free to do something, but for there to be consequences to your choices. This is how reality and also being an adult works, okay? So we have the freedom to do a great many things with our lives, but they're not always going to be to the liking of other people. Now, I'm a socialist, so the fact that adverse decision making on one person's part can lead to economic and medical ruin is not something that I like. However, I think it's ironic that you would advocate against taking the vaccine in favor of people's medical rights when it is exactly other people's medical rights that you are hurting by subjecting them to a population that is not fully vaccinated. People are dying because of what you're saying. People are going to the hospital because of what you're saying. They're
And
not
what
going
about
to
the
the
people who are
hospitals.
dying after they get vaccinated? So here
How
is
many of them are there?
you can go to veggieaccess.org to look out the number of adverse effects. Do you
How
want to
many
do
of those
that?
adverse
There's
effects are
also
death?
VAERS, but Veggie Access is the international version. This is what the World Health Organization uses.
I can't compare data across countries. We should look at the theirs when
So
we're looking at the United States.
why don't you want to look at internationally? So you only want to look at VAERS?
Because other countries have other vaccines, other reporting methods, other languages. What do you mean?
Okay, that's fair enough.
Yeah,
So put up. Let's
we've
look
been
at the one
talking about
from
stuff in
VAERS then.
America.
Let's look at the one from VAERS. Do you know how many are reported on
How
there?
many adverse effects?
Mm-hmm.
Probably billions with how that system
No,
works.
on VAERS. What do you mean by billions based on how that system works? How does it
Can
work?
you explain? How do you understand VAERS to work out of curiosity?
People report their adverse effects and they need to document like where like the doctor that they look at they have to list the lot number of the COVID-19 vaccine that they received. They have to put the manufacturer, right? So are you just assuming that this is that there's anti-vaxxers that are flooding this place? Is that what you're assuming?
Is it self-reported?
Is it self-reported? It has to be verified before it's self-reported, right?
Verified how?
You have to put the manufacturer, right? You have to put the doctor's name, right? So is
Okay.
your assumption that
So
there's
is it
so
is it
wait.
self-reported?
Is your assumption that it's anti-vaxxers that are flooding this place?
I have not said any such thing. Yeah, so
Oh
answer. Is
no,
it
I know. I'm just asking if this is what you're assuming.
No. I don't.
Okay,
No. I
okay,
have not said that or implied that. So it is
okay.
self-reported.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And you can report just about anything, can't you?
I mean, you have to put your doctor's name. You have to say where you like what the symptoms you're experiencing, right?
Right. But you can just say whatever. Like the doctor doesn't need to test you to make sure that what you're saying is true. It's self-reported. The doctor doesn't report it. You report it. Whatever you
So
say is
what
what
what are
goes
you
against.
implying the motivation of these people are?
I'm not. I'm just
but are you
This
saying
just
that
working out the
they're
facts
not
with you.
experiencing this and then they're reporting this?
I'm just working out the facts. It's funny, by the way, you were so concerned with COVID-19 deaths being overreported earlier, and now we have this completely unauthorized self-report system that's not even meant
Unauthorized.
to be used
This
to
is what
gather
they've been
data
using for
for
decades.
sociological purposes.
They've been using this for decades to make decisions
Yes,
on
they
when to
have.
stop
Why?
producing, distributing vaccines.
What do they use it for? How do they use that data?
How do they use it? They look at the data and then they're like, okay, there's people that are reporting adverse effects. It's let's let people know, or let's stop distributing this vaccine.
Just any
New
adverse
York New
effect? I
York
mean, what are
Times
the main
article from
reports?
1976 shows when they did that, when they reported. Let me see how many number of people reported adverse effects for that. Um, 1 second here. Were you gonna ask something in the meantime?
Yeah, what do they use that data for?
So I said they use the data to make decisions on whether to stop distributing vaccines.
Okay, so why haven't they stopped distributing the vaccines then? There have been
For
probably
these,
hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of VAERS adverse effect reports, no?
I can only speculate on why.
What are your speculations?
Is and in what relevance is my speculations?
Well, I'm curious what you think of it. Do you think they're just charging ahead, like they're just running on forward, like they don't even care?
Considering that our our big pharma companies, they buy off our politicians, right? You
Okay.
acknowledge that that's true?
Uh, it depends on what you mean by buy off, but yes, you're alleging conspiracy. That's what I
No,
meant.
no, no, no.
Yeah.
I'm not alleging conspiracy. This is my speculation. It's not.
You're
Is this the hill
speculating
that I'm
as
dying on? My hill that I'm dying on is that it should be a person's choice, right? It
it
should be
is
a
currently
person's
a person's
choice.
choice.
Not a
What are
real
you talking
choice
about?
if
Just
they have to
removing
lose their
others'
job and they have to
choices?
lose their health care. Do you not care about some of these people that could die if they get myocarditis or can get blood
You,
clots?
yeah, of course, but I also
Okay.
care about the
So
much,
then
much,
why should
much
this
greater
be
number of people
forced
who have
on
died of
people then?
COVID-19.
I care about those people too. But why
Oh,
should this
okay.
be forced on people to take this?
It's not. You keep doing this. It's not forced on you.
How,
You
if you're
also
gonna,
have
if
a
you can
freedom
lose your
to declare.
job
Yeah, and you can
and then
lose
you
your
lose
job
your
by
health
saying to
care?
your boss the N word.
You
You can do
you
that.
can
Yeah.
also not go this you're saying that not getting you're equating not getting vaccinated as something offensive. Is it not offensive
Yes,
that
I am.
someone could
No,
have
no,
an
no. There's
allergic
no.
reaction and then you're like,
No,
"Oh no, you
there's
should
there.
get that." And then they get an allergic reaction and then what happens to them?
Harmful, not offensive. There's a difference. Anyway, once again, you have a choice. What you're talking about is
Not a real
removing the choice of the
choice.
employer to fire you for making bad health decisions.
Not a
You're
real
talking about
choice.
removing their freedom, essentially, and the freedom of your coworkers who don't want to work with dangerous, unvaccinated lunatics. I think that it's the right of businesses to preserve a
Lunatics.
healthy environment on their grounds by firing idiots who don't make the right decisions for the health
So
of
this is
themselves
just
and their
your
families.
this is your opinion that you think that
It's
they're
backed by a
lunatics
lot
and
of
all that.
data that we've talked about
And
in
I'm
this
backing up by a lot
conversation.
of data here that it's not the unvaccinated that are driving the evolution of these different variants. That
We've
vaccinated or
we've
unvaccinated,
talked
you can
about
still
that.
get the disease. But here's an
You're
HHS
incorrect there.
study in Harvard University. They found that the numbers that are reported in VAERS are underreported.
Okay. What numbers?
So this is from October 2000 to June 2006 through October 2009 on 715 patients and 1.4 million doses
What
of
does this
different
have to do with
vaccines.
COVID?
It's if it was underreported back then, why does that
So
not apply now?
we're 15 years later for a
Why
completely
does it not
different
apply
event.
now? Why doesn't no you can you are you going to tell me why it doesn't apply now?
I feel like you should have an intuitive answer to this, but given the fact that the COVID-19 is a very novel, unique, and highly temporal event, Given the fact that institutions change, given the fact that the internet, which is the current vector for VAERS reporting, has exploded in relevance since 2006, I would say that the differences between VAERS in 2006 and now are so significant that they're essentially incomparable. Like it's, you might as well be talking to me about like a different country or like a different institution altogether.
And it's also enough time for the corporations to have gone richer and
Right, of
the
course.
more
But what does
influence
that
on
have to do? Do you
politicians.
just default to the same like NPC talking points whenever you don't have anything to say? What about
What do you mean
corporations getting
NBC
richer?
talking point?
No shit, they've gotten richer. Yeah, we live in a capitalist state, obviously. What the fuck? Like, you keep bringing this up, like, well, I care about people getting fired. Yeah, no shit. What does that have to do with anything we're talking about? This is
Is
the
that
thing
they're
we're
not given a
always
real
talking about.
choice and therefore these
Hold on, hold
vaccines
on, hold
shouldn't
on.
be
No, no, no,
mandated.
no, no. The thing, but you don't target the real issue there, which is capitalism and decommodification. Are you a socialist? Do you believe in a proletarian state? Are you a Marxist?
I don't really I don't really know what to label myself
Yeah,
as.
I didn't fucking think so. So your
Why?
posture with this anti-corporatist shit,
Why
where
didn't
like,
you
oh,
think
all you care
so?
about is vaccines.
Why do I have to
What?
have a label?
I hear this with you guys all the time. So
Who's these guys? Who's
yeah,
these
these guys.
guys?
You have, hold on, you have the tough questions at your hands, and whenever you don't have a good answer, you go back to the same talking points. Anti-imperialism, this, anti-America, this, corporations, that.
So
You
you're
don't give a
grouping
fuck
me
about
with a
any of
bunch of
this.
people and you're not dealing with me like as in
You
a
don't
case by case
care. You
basis.
don't have solutions. How would you
You
fix
haven't
people
asked
getting
me what my
fired?
solutions are, but that's
Hold
irrelevant
on,
to what
hold
we're
on.
talking about
How would
here.
you fix the problem with people's economic well-being depending on corporations?
How is
How would
this
you fix
relevant
that?
to the debate about mandates?
That's a great fucking question. How is it relevant? I ask you. Would you like to answer that one, or should we move back to COVID and stay there?
Can you please tell me? Because does this have to do with the main topic?
That's a really, that's such a good question, man. That's such an excellent. Oh God,
All
I
right,
should know.
tell me then. What? It's an excellent question. Do you have an excellent answer?
For the question I asked you.
The question which I have no understanding of what relevance it has to this debate.
Do you remember the question, or are you just fishing for things to say?
The question of what solutions do I have to our economic problems?
Yeah, yeah. How
We
would you
can
how
we
would you
can have
fix
a
that?
whole discussion on that another time, but it seems like you're trying to move away from this topic.
No, I'm trying to keep you from. This is my thing. You don't have an answer to half your dumb shit COVID vax question. Like
I have an
why the
answer,
fuck should
but
corporations
that's
fire
not.
people? And then you bring up like, well, people get fired in general. I know people get fired in general. That's how our economy works. You brought it up. You brought corporations up. You brought the pharmaceutical industries up. I'm only talking about the medical data here. We were talking about VAERS and how VAERS
Yeah.
self-reporting system isn't a good metric for accurate sociological analysis. So how
Well,
many
they've been
people have
using it for
died there?
decades.
Yeah,
And but a
not for
possibility exists though,
socio-emotional
right? Doesn't the
analysis.
possibility of adverse effects exist? Here's the
For
CDC CDC
everything.
document. I don't know if you are here. I'll send this to you.
So wait, what do you think researchers
You
use
you
VAERS for?
you you think the CDC is credible? Yes or no?
On some things,
Some
they have
things.
their moments.
Okay, like with their um 5 day lockdown now.
I think they're probably being fairly motivated by a certain economic compilations.
Yeah,
I don't know how
I agree with
significant
that.
that is exactly. I think the main stated reason is
So
that they're trying to get healthcare workers back in the fold quickly, which is a
mhm.
fairly admirable reason. And maybe they can't like distinguish between a 10-day quarantine for everyone, but a 5-day quarantine for healthcare workers. I don't know. There's a lot that could go in there.
Yeah, interesting speculations. So I sent a CDC document here on page 21. It talks about myocarditis, which shows that they acknowledge that this is a possible risk, right?
We
So
know we know that there's always a
okay,
possible risk with vaccines.
so then why should if somebody is afraid of this risk, right? Children, for
Why should they be
example,
forced?
yeah.
Because all the other vaccines already have risks associated, and we by your metric we force those too. Should we not force any vaccine? Should we just go back to the 1800s? What would you prefer?
1800s. People should
Huh?
be given a choice no matter what on whether they
So
want to
you
get a
so
vaccine or not.
children should go unvaccinated up until they're 18 and legally able to make that choice, even though child mortality rates
Then
would increase
that's
10
the
times.
decision on the legal guardian.
Wait, so you think wait, hold on. So you want people to be able to make a choice on this, but you also think the other vaccines, like, they should just be forced on you by your legal guardian?
Can a baby make a decision?
Well, well, no. So you
Okay,
see, I
then.
don't
So
care
why
about
are you
autonomy
saying
then.
that the baby like I don't understand what you're trying to say here.
I'm saying that you don't actually seem to care about autonomy if you're saying
How?
that a parent should be able to force a vaccine on a child.
I mean, it's their decision after they look at information, right? A child
No, it's
doesn't
the baby's
know.
decision.
A child a child can't make an informed decision if
So
they're
would you
that
wait for them to
young.
turn 18?
If they're that young,
Shouldn't you wait for them to turn 18 then? I mean, sure, many of them will die, but shouldn't you wait for them to
that's
turn
your
18?
assumption.
No, no, wait, hold on.
What
If we
vaccines
didn't
are you
vaccinate,
talking
hold on,
about
wait, hold on,
here?
wait, wait, wait.
Are you talking
If we
about
didn't vaccinate,
measles? What vaccines are you
no, hold on.
talking about?
If we didn't vaccinate our babies, yes, many of them would
Many
die.
of them
That's,
will.
I'm,
Many parents will choose to vaccinate them.
no, 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 you're missing it again. If you care so much about people's decision to get these vaccines, then we shouldn't have parents force it on kids. Kids should wait until they're 18. And then when they're 18, they can make the decision to get vaccinated or not.
Do you
Like,
acknowledge that these negative adverse effects exist? Yes or no?
no one doesn't, everyone
Okay,
knows that
so
vaccines are
why
great.
force it on somebody?
No, wait, don't run away. We're
Why
almost there.
force it on
Wait,
somebody? What?
wait, you're right. We shouldn't force it on people. So shouldn't we wait until people are 18 and then let them decide whether or not to get vaccinated?
That's a
Because there
parent's
are
choice.
adverse effects to the measles vaccines and crap like that, right? So
I mean,
shouldn't we not wait?
it's not like parents don't consult with their like 15, 10-year old when it comes to like these vaccines.
About 15, 10 year old, they can't make decisions about this sort of stuff. We should wait until they're 18. That's the only fair way to do it. Now,
I mean, they consult with their parents.
admittedly, millions of these kids will die, but
Just
there
an
are
assumption that you
adverse
just came up.
effects.
That's just a number you just came up with, like out at the
It's a
top of your
very
head.
good number. But so
But
millions,
it's not a real number. It's just something you
it's
just made up.
believe it or not, it's millions a real number. You can count up that high if you take the time to.
That's not what I
Um,
meant, and you know that.
if you if you care about a person's autonomy, should we not wait for all vaccine decisions to be made by an adult? Why would we? So why are you okay with parents forcing this on their kids?
Are they forcing it or are they consulting with their kid?
They're babies. Most of these vaccines are delivered when they're 6 months old or something.
What
I
can
don't
you
think the
do?
consultation. Huh?
What can the baby do?
Get vaccinated and very little else.
Well, that's a baby. Right? People that work these jobs aren't babies.
Yeah, right. So don't you think if you're so concerned with people's individual right to choose whether or not they get vaccinated, that we should extend that right to the millions of babies who suffer forced vaccinations every single year?
Can you repeat that question again? Because
If you think
it's
we
not.
should have the right to decide whether or not to be vaccinated, to not have it forced, don't you think we should extend that right to the millions of babies every year who have vaccines forced to them, who were never given a choice, who were never told the adverse effects? Don't you think those babies have a right to wait it out until they're old enough to make that decision themselves?
This is a whole other discussion, right? We're talking about these mandates that are being forced on adults.
Why? Why?
Okay.
So you can force it. You can't force it on an adult, but you can force it on a kid. Why shouldn't we? What's a few million baby deaths? We're talking about freedom here.
Can they give it? Can a baby give an informed consent?
No, so they should wait till
Okay
they're
then.
18.
So, but an adult can give informed consent.
Sure. So
Okay, so don't equate the
so
two.
should
So
we
you
wait
can't
until
equate the
people are
two.
like asleep when they can't give informed consent, then like stab them with the Vaush ouchie? Like, why are you for the baby tyranny?
How many times do we have to go over this? A baby can't give informed consent, an adult can.
Yeah, so we should wait. Like, listen, listen. All of these vaccines,
But they have legal
adverse effects,
guardians.
by the way, and they're forced on children with no warning. Like the kid can't understand. hepatitis B, rotavirus, diphtheria, tetanus, and excellular pertussis. Tetanus, diphtheria, excellular pertussis again. Haemophilus influenza, pneumococcal conjugate, pneumococcal polysaccharide, inactivated poliovirus. How do we even know what these are? The kids can't know, certainly. Influenza, measles, mumps, rubella, varicella, hepatitis A, human papillomavirus, and meningococcal. I don't even know what half these are.
All right, so let's go back to talking about these vaccines. Did you know that the antibody levels for these vaccines decrease over time?
Yeah, that's how they work. That's why we get boosters.
Okay, so we have to keep boosting each other all the time?
Is that a euphemism? Or are you coming on to me?
So you think that we should keep boosting ourselves all the time?
I think we should keep getting booster shots.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you know that the booster shots are only adding more antibodies, they're not improving the quality of antibodies. And you know that there's now people, a lot of experts, right? You listen to these experts that are saying that the fourth doses, they're concerned that this might cause harm, that this may not really do anything.
But where is that?
New York Times,
Can you link it to
they
me?
put, yeah, let me pull it up here. What are people seeing? I just sent it to you, and of course, it's speculation. We gotta look at information to see if a fourth vaccine will even be necessary or not.
I thought we weren't relying on speculation here.
No, we're not. But I'm just want to get your thoughts on this.
Well, I think you have to pace out the boosters. If you do them too rapidly, there could be issues. But it really depends on what the medical experts say, right? I trust the medical experts
And the evidence.
to devise an appropriate vaccine delivery schedule because it's in their best interest that we stay healthy too, you know.
Okay. So you know that the booster shots protect against symptomatic Omicron infection for about 10 weeks. There's a study that was in Business Insider South Africa. I'm sending that over to you right now. So should we get a booster every 10 weeks?
I'm not an epidemiologist. It would be up to
Oh,
them.
you don't have to be.
No, you actually kind of do to be able
To
make
look
that
at
decision.
information and then make your decision?
We
Or
don't
for
have
you
that
to
information.
speculate?
Even the article you linked me was speculation. We don't have data on what the effects of a fourth shot, like we don't have data to look at there. Also, the third booster, the third one, it came out before Omicron, didn't it? I'm pretty sure that it did. So like it would make sense that Omicron would cut through it pretty quickly.
Okay, so we just have to keep making new vaccines for people every couple months. That's your solution.
Yeah, saving lives is a difficult and often unrewarding job, but I think
Do you think that
years
natural
of
immunity
hundreds
is
of thousands
is
of
do you,
people die.
do you think natural immunity can help people?
I mean, you have to get COVID to get natural immunity, but after you've gotten COVID, you do benefit for some time from natural immunity, you know. But that's like that's like smacking yourself in the head with a hammer to spike the painkillers, right? I mean, maybe you have that effect, but there's other harm being done.
But what if someone wants to just get it that way rather than get vaccinated?
They
Or
have that
just
right.
boost their immune system by taking vitamin D, which has shown to help decrease your risk of getting COVID-19.
Well, they have that right to.
Okay. But again, they lose their job and they lose their health care,
Yeah.
which means that their chances of dying increases, right?
Well, if they cared so much about whether or not they lived or died, they should have gotten the shot.
Based
Anyone
off
who
of
loses
your
their healthcare
subjective
because-
opinion.
Yes, my subjective opinion, backed by the world's medical experts everywhere from every institution, even in the data you showed me.
And the data that I showed show that people unvaccinated or vaccinated can still spread it.
Nobody argues that vaccinated people can't spread it. You're arguing against a point nobody's making. They don't spread it as often.
Then
They don't
shouldn't
get
it
sick
just
as
be
often.
at the end
They
of the
don't get
day a
sick as
person's
bad. They
choice?
don't go to the hospital as often, and they don't die as often. And the data you provided showed that as well. There's just no arguing around that, you know? If you're like a radical, anti-vaccine mandate, wizard, and you want to die on that hill, then Godspeed, But don't lie about the data to do it. Just say, like, I don't
When
give a
have I lied
fuck
about
how
the
many people
data?
die.
You're the one that keeps bringing up like, oh, I think. I thought I saw
Everything that
this.
I've said to you here, I have substantiated with links shown to you from fairly reputable pieces of data. You're dragging up like articles on VAERS from 2006, articles on COVID from
No,
2020.
many of them are recent, actually.
Did I imagine the 2020 COVID article?
2020. Um, I have sources here from 2021 if you want to look at those.
To establish the thing we've already agreed on, which is the high number of COVID deaths, the fact that vaccinated people are less likely to go to the hospital, die, get sick, etc. No, I think we've established this. I don't understand what the issue is. More booster shots come out. So what? Get a booster shot. Why not? What's the harm? Like, why not? Are you vaccinated?
What's the harm is that people can get negative adverse effects. That risk exists.
Okay, but you realize that according to all available information, that is the case for every vaccine, and getting COVID is worse. What's that thing you were
Why is
concerned
it
about?
that in Israel,
What's the
with the first country that got the booster, their numbers rose up so much right after
about
the
their
booster
deaths or their
rollouts?
hospitalizations?
Their deaths or hospitalizations?
Myocarditis, yeah. The risk for myocarditis is higher.
That's one adverse effect. That's one
What?
adverse effect out of several others.
If we are talking about deaths or hospitalizations or even just general unwellness, the vaccine is infinitely preferable to
Infinitely,
COVID-19.
based off your assumptions.
Infinitely isn't actually a real number. You're correct in that one. It's a concept. You can't count to infinity.
Okay, so
You caught me on
you're
that.
over exaggerating.
I was exaggerating when I said infinitely. I will admit that.
Okay.
Anyway, just what's the issue? Like, why can't we just get the booster shots? What's up? It doesn't hurt. I mean, it doesn't hurt much. I guess it stings a little bit.
Well, hurt it would. The reason for why, well, at the end of the day, it's a person's choice.
It
But
is.
if somebody doesn't want to get it, it's because it's showing that it's not reducing the spread.
It is reducing the spread.
Whereas you're saying that it's reducing hospitalizations. It's not reducing the
Yes.
spread.
No, it reduces both, but even just reducing hospitalizations is a huge deal. There are hospitals that are filled to the brim with anti-vaxxers right now. Seriously, like, go to any hospital, like anywhere in America, they will be swamped from people who aren't vaccinated.
Your assumption.
No, that's not an assumption. That is true. The hospitalization rates are insane right now. You can look at the difference between vaccinated and unvaccinated.
Hospitalization rates for Omicron have decreased.
What?
Hospitalization rates for Omicron are less than the hospitalization rates from the original strain.
Okay, Omicron's only had like a week and a half in the United States.
We're talking about the rate.
Rate? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Omicron is also supposed to be less likely to send you to the hospital. What does this have to do with the
Okay,
relationship
then.
between vaccinated and unvaccinated people?
It's like, what's the urgency if the severity of the virus from this new strain is decreasing?
I mean, it's only like our
Do you
hospitals
think that the
are
virus is
millions
going
are
to
dead.
be eliminated? Like, we're going to eradicate this virus?
See, this is why I think you might be being a bit insincere when
How?
you pretend to care about other people's like medical well-being.
This is not
Like
answering my
this,
question.
these-
You're
No,
just giving
like,
your
like,
subjective opinion.
remember when it was like 800,000 people died? You were like, well, how many is 800,000 really? I mean, it's the largest mass death event in American history, but how much is that real? Like, I don't actually think you care about people's health.
I do
What's
care about their health, but why is the vaccine the end all be all solution? You don't care about people who get negative adverse effects.
Wait, hold on. How did we eliminate all the other great plagues?
The other great plagues, like the flu and all that,
Like
Are you talking about like the
influenza
flu pandemic
or
from
like there
1918 and
might
all
be
those?
polio or like all the other stuff, measles. Like
Measles is a different virus from influenza and COVID-19.
these they
It's
kill
less transmissible, so
unimaginable.
it's easier to contain.
Wait, of course they're different viruses. They kill
It's easy. I'm
unimaginable
talking about
amounts.
in the way that it spreads. It's easier to contain the measles, smallpox, because they're not as transmissible as COVID-19. They're
How
deadlier
do we
if you get
eliminate
it.
smallpox?
It doesn't spread as much.
How does smallpox not spread as much?
Do you know how much the difference is between smallpox and influenza and
How do
COVID-19?
we overcome all of these diseases that kill millions of people every year from basically all of modern
They're
civilization?
easier to contain because they don't spread as much.
How do we contain it? What do we do with there's some technology that we invented that allowed us to single-handedly cut
Yeah,
down
a
the amount of
vaccine which
right?
wasn't mandated on people. People were given
Well,
a
actually,
choice.
again, it was. You can't
No,
even go to school if you don't have the range of shots that they typically give young people. It was. It genuinely was. What's happening right now isn't unique, okay? You are the oddity. Through internet disinfo,
oddity.
people like you and the idiots who follow you are the modern oddity. Being compelled socially to get a vaccine is just how we overcome plague. This is how our society evolves. This is how we get better. Lessen death. This is us growing past you. You're the unique thing. You're the aberrant right here. Nobody really
Based on your
should care
subjective
about getting
opinion.
these vaccines. They don't make you any more sick than COVID will. They're infinitely less. Oh, you got me. They're significantly less likely to make you sick than COVID will. You are
You
the
keep just
actual
repeating
atypical
things. You just
chronological plague
keep
here.
repeating talking points.
I am talking, and I am making a point.
Yeah, but you're not
But if you don't want to
backing
listen
what
to
you're
it,
saying with evidence. Just keep repeating things.
well, are you vaccinated?
It's none of your business.
That's
And it's not
stodgy about
relevant to what we're
everything.
talking about here.
That means you are, by the way. People who
You don't
are
know
like
that?
you. No. People who are like you who aren't are proud of it and they announce it. But when you are vaccinated and hypocritically argue against the mandates, then you go ahead and say, well, don't ask me about it. They did the same thing. Marjorie Taylor Greene, Tucker Carlson, they did the same thing. They're vaccinated, of course. But you don't want to lose your true anti-vax followers, so you cowardly deny the answer. Even though, what is this, a HIPAA violation?
You can't prove that.
Status? Why are you afraid of sharing it? I'm vaccinated. I'll tell you my dick length. What do you want from me? What are you, shy all of a sudden? Come on,
You
just
can't
admit
prove
that it's
that.
to keep your audience in line.
You can't prove it.
Well, you have me on that. Anyway,
I can't prove that you are. I can't prove that you are a CIA asset either. Maybe one day something will be released.
Many such questions.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I love you very much. I hope that you keep up with your full booster when it comes out.
So one last thing I wanted to show you here. Did you know that? So here's a study. Oh my God, it's not from 2021, but it can still serve as a model, and we can use it to make some predictions on what could happen. Right? Study from 2015 on PLOS biology. I can send it over to you. Imperfect vaccination can enhance the transmission of highly virulent pathogens. Right? So a leaky vaccine, one that does not stop transmission, can increase the evolution of more transmissible versions of that virus. I'll send that over to you. Yeah, I'm sending it over to you right now. Oops.
Imperfect vaccination can enhance. Oh wait, is this the meme about people being vaccinated improperly? I saw Jimmy Dore talk about this.
No, it's not that. Where it's administered in like the blood or the that was the first thing I told you. That was the first thing I told you. That's why I said it can serve as a model.
Is there any evidence that imperfect vaccination is taking place right now?
Yeah, people are still getting COVID despite being double dosed or having boosters.
You got me on that one.
Here's another one. Vaccines are pushing pathogens to evolve. I got you. Let me send that over to you.
Is this about COVID or is this in general?
Oh, it's just ongoing studies that look at viruses in general.
So
So,
yeah, what we're talking about right now is the same issue as
right,
the
but
antivirus.
it can serve as a model, right? To make predictions based off of information that we've
Really
seen in the
depends
past in
on
other
what specific.
viruses.
So we're talking about the antibacterial super bacteria kind of dealio, where if you do something which kills 99% of disease, the 1% that remains is more likely, in a sort of evolutionary sense, to survive.
That's how evolution
However,
works. Yep.
right, the issue
Via
with that
natural
is that
selection.
this doesn't really apply to COVID for a couple of reasons.
Why?
There are already evolutionary incentive structures which increase the likelihood of new viral strains, even with no vaccinations involved. Which is the reason why Delta and Omicron both seem to have come from unvaccinated people. I think
Where's your
Delta came
evidence that
from
it came
India.
from unvaccinated people?
Didn't Delta come from India? What was the vaccination rate in India at the time, Chad?
I'm not sure, but Omicron didn't come from an unvaccinated person. You know that it was detected in somebody vaccinated in South Africa. And then it comes in Australia, which in Australia, if you're people who are unvaccinated cannot leave or enter the country.
Chad,
So,
did you
where
listen?
do you acknowledge that Omicron came from a vaccinated person?
I'm sorry, hold on. Really, really quickly. Because I have to tear into you for this. Okay. You realize being detected in somebody isn't the same as finding patient zero, right? You do realize that you just said some
Right,
incredibly stupid
but
bullshit.
then you saying that it came from an unvaccinated person is you just speculating. So you can't say
Well,
that
Delta did,
conclusively
because
either.
India had a very low rate of vaccination at the time Delta came out. We haven't detected patient zero for Omicron. But given the fact that the viral load, which allows for
Was
the evolution of
Delta
new
was that
viral
patient
strains,
zero? Was that patient zero for Delta?
was what patients?
Delta in India.
What?
Was the person in India in which Delta was first found in, was that patient zero?
No, it just developed in India
Okay, so you're assuming that it came from an unvaccinated person in India.
in an overwhelmingly unvaccinated place,
Okay, so
yes.
it's an assumption, just like
Yes,
in when it was
that
detected
is
in South
true.
Africa, it came from an individual that was vaccinated.
What was the hold on? What was the vaccination rate in India back then? Hold on. Vax rate in India over time. Let me see. As of June 2019, 2021, only 4% of people in India are fully vaccinated. Holy shit! When did Delta come out? When did Delta strain emerge? Delta strain emerged. It was detected in the US in March 2021. So in March 2021, that would have been 3 months before India even hit 4%. Holy shit.
Okay, so you
Yeah,
at the end of the day, you can't conclusively say whether it came from a
thank you for
vaccinated or
your
unvaccinated person, right?
yes, that is true.
Okay.
You cannot 100% figure that out. It might have been the incredibly small elite cast of people with access to COVID-19 vaccines early on, as opposed to the over 1 billion people who had
I
no
mean,
vaccination.
we can't say either of those conclusively.
I never said conclusively.
Okay.
Anyway, so
And
I think
what do you think?
if you want to look into it a little more, the conditions which cause the COVID viral strain to evolve and develop new strains are not, to my knowledge, exacerbated by a person being
So
vaccinated.
do you think
What they
that
want,
do you think that if we keep vaccinating ourselves, we'll one day eliminate the virus?
that's not how this works.
No, but is this what you think?
You keep vaccinating until eventually either the vaccine strain becomes innocuous enough that it's something you can deal with seasonally, like the flu or something like that, or until you're able to break it off into isolated portions of the world and deal with it there.
But can't this be achieved if people can gain natural immunity also?
No, natural immunity fades quite quickly. You can get rid of it
Actually,
most of the
natural immunity can last a lifetime according to nature,
it,
and it can
it
protect you
cannot.
from 23 different variants according to another paper from science.
It
I can show you. I can show you right now.
You can show me. You're free to look into it. Does natural immunity last forever? You
You're
can
just
Google that.
Google searching that. I'm showing. I'm providing actual evidence here.
So far, every study that you provided me either agrees with me or you didn't understand
Not
something.
really. No, not really. You're just making
You can
assumptions or
Google it.
trying to
It's
twist
okay.
it a certain
You can
way.
Google it. You can find out. Okay. We can't go through every single misconception you have. Just also look up the process by which new COVID strains develop. Okay. Because people being vaccinated doesn't seem to be the thing that exacerbates that. There's a higher viral load and a longer lasting viral load in
But
people
you
who
know
aren't
that this is
vaccinated.
that vaccination is not going like always like continually vaccinating people. That's just playing that's just playing catch up. It's going to keep evolving. And there's a
So I'm just
possibility
looking
that
at
the imperfect vaccination is what's driving the evolution.
Do you have any evidence of that?
That's the paper I just showed you. That said it's the possibility.
I've
It's
already
possible.
explained.
You can't deny it's
You
possible.
you will need something about no. You keep saying this. You can't deny it's possible. You can't deny anything is possible.
Yeah, but then
It's
there's
like
evidence here where it shows that this is how viruses can evolve, right?
not all viruses. There are differences between different kinds of
And
viruses.
this one
It's
is
all
very
very
transmissible, right? So it's undergoing an obstacle here from the vaccine, right?
I genuinely can't tell how much of this is political bias on your part and how much of this is just the Dunning-Kruger effect. Like, I don't
I'm going
genuinely
off
don't
of
know how
what
much you think
these
is
studies are
political.
showing here.
You're cherry-picking studies from any time range you can
How
find that
many?
already
A bunch
include
of
your
studies
fields.
here. Old studies
The
can be used
fact
as models for
that
present
you
for things that are
challenge
happening
my
now.
belief, hold on. The fact that you challenge my belief that unvaccinated people are hospitalized more frequently tells me everything that I need to know about the fact that you don't
I
give a
just showed you
shit
data
about
from
actually
Scotland. I can
arriving at
also show
truthful
you data from
decisions.
the UK
And how, out of
and
curiosity, how
Israel.
did you arrive at that tiny, low population Scotland study as opposed to the literal thousands of other larger, better reported on, and better documented studies? Was it
Like
because of
Africa, which 6% of the population is vaccinated, even though they don't have a COVID problem.
what are we talking about?
Africa, 6% of the
I'm
population
sorry,
is
I was talking
vaccinated, but
about
they don't have much
Scotland.
of a COVID problem.
I was talking about
This
Scotland.
is Scotland. Okay, but that's one place. I can give you another place. I can show you
No,
information from the
the point is,
UK.
you
I have
ignore
information here
the.
from the UK. I have information here
Oh
from
my God!
Israel.
All right.
What?
The point is that there is a massive range of available
So you're
information.
afraid to look at the are you afraid to look at the data?
Which is as the case with any subject, there will be outliers in terms of findings. But rather than looking at the consensus and looking at the overwhelming impetus of data, you deliberately grab out anything you can find that agrees with biases that you already have, which isn't actually looking to the
Isn't that what
science.
you're doing?
What am I doing?
You're picking out you're choosing cherry picked information also.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'll work on that. Thank you. Anyway,
Okay.
I do appreciate the call. It's always a good reminder to know
So
that.
you don't want to look at the data from the UK. You don't want to look at the data from Israel. The data from Israel from Worldometer, which shows that vaccinated Israel and unvaccinated Palestine, there is no significant difference there.
Gotcha. Thank
And
you.
these are three.
This
These
this
are
serves more as
they
a
received
light
3
lesson.
doses. No significant difference there.
Just going to talk over? Yeah, okay. At least
Because you don't want to
give us
look
the
at the data.
opportunity. Give us the opportunity to end with some decency, man. Have a bit of grace, okay? Christ. But you're just gonna chat till I hover over the red button? Come on now. Look, it's been fun talking
So
to you. I
you're
appreciate
afraid to look at the data. You're afraid to look at the
the
data.
I will continue to look at the data. Thank you.
But
Anyway,
you're afraid to look at it
emotive
from what
positive
you're afraid to look at
Yes,
this data, which shows hospitalizations in the UK,
all right, okay.
right? Hospitalizations in the UK and Israel. I guess he quit. He didn't want to look at the data from the UK, from Israel. Oh my goodness. Jesus Christ, man. What are you guys saying here? That man did not want to look at the data from the UK, so I'm going to show it to you guys since the stream is running right now. Oh, where'd it go? For more in depth on that, you can look at some of the information from The Last American Vagabond. He went through this in depth, but I want to look at what you guys have said here. Martina, what's up? It's great to see you here. You did good, Franco. Thank you. Scott Richardson. Oh damn, am a few minutes behind. All right, you just joined in. Well done, Franco. Kaladi. Most of the data about unvaccinated people being more likely to get the virus was taken at a time when a vaccine wasn't available. Alvin, that's true. That's what Dr. Valensky of the CDC. That's what she was using. She was using information from early January to say that this is the pandemic of the unvaccinated. Paul Eisenberg knew that would happen. Bride Biscuit, I called the rage quit. Bro, this guy, he rage quit. The Vaush Cook, Shadowban Refugee. Great to see you. Great to see you. Let's see over on YouTube. Robert Durden, Vaush didn't do his homework. Embarrassing. Who provided more information throughout that whole debate? Right? He kept stalling and stalling and stalling. Ashley makes a good point. I'm the angry one. How am I the angry guy on Twitter? He's the one that rage quit. He's the one that kept getting angry. I'm sure he was frustrated that I wasn't getting like angry and shouting at him. Because that's what he usually tries to do in his debates. Oh my goodness, man. So what are you guys seeing here? This is how you guys are looking at how vaccines, there can be vaccine adapted mutants that can arise by alterations in the gene encoding the pathogen epitopes. Right, so that's just going more into how vaccines can trigger the evolution of new versions of a virus. So here is data showing how in Israel, like look at all these places here. There's so many people fully vaccinated, but the cases keep going up. Let's get the US out of here, Afghanistan out of here, Europe out of here. Let's add Palestine. And let's compare those two. Why is it that Palestine, we're seeing fewer cases compared to fully vaccinated Israel? And the trends are somewhat similar here, despite the cases being lower in Palestine, in which they have less access to clean water. Their conditions are different. In Denmark here, 74.7% of people that were found to have Omicron were fully vaccinated. All right, this is the Lancet study. Let me hop on out of here. Do you guys want me to talk about natural immunity? I've gone into natural immunity in depth here plenty of times. It started out calm and then all of a sudden he got really angry. Oh, another thing I should have said during that debate: Cuba, China, Vietnam, they didn't have to mandate vaccines. Also, people shouldn't be skeptical of Pfizer, Moderna. I forgot to bring that up. Also, the tracker for Pfizer. We shouldn't be skeptical of that. I forgot to also bring up how uh, black people are traumatized of being used as experimental subjects. Tuskegee's a prime example of that. People were unknowingly infected with syphilis. You don't think that they have a right to be concerned about this? To have a choice rather than to be forced to take this again? Rather than to be forced to take this? Oh, let me get rid of this because he's still streaming. Here's nature. Had COVID, you'll probably make antibodies for a lifetime. This is what he didn't want to see. Oh man, we didn't even get to talk about how this is fascist, right? If these are decisions that are being made by our government that is influenced by big pharma, like that's not a conspiracy theory. Here's another study. Longitudinal analysis shows durable and broad immune memory after SARS-CoV-2 infection with persisting antibody responses and memory B and T cells. NIH, lasting immunity found after recovery from COVID-19. World Health Organization, COVID-19 natural immunity. The strength and duration of the immune response to SARS-CoV-2 are not completely understood, and currently available data suggests that it varies by age and the severity of symptoms. Available scientific data suggests that in most people, immune responses remain robust and protective against reinfection for at least 6 to 8 months after infection. And that's how long the study lasts, 8 months. So that's the maximum amount of time that they could say that natural immunity could last, because that's how long the experiment lasted. So he's going to go against nature, Cell Reports Medicine, the NIH, and the World Health Organization on how natural immunity can last a lifetime. Oh my God. Damn, man, that was hilarious. This man rage quit at the end. He didn't want to look at more evidence I was going to provide to him that was going to ruin his arguments. I'm going to tweet this out. What are your thoughts on the whole debate, guys? It's been a while since I did a live stream. It's been a while since I've done this. I'm gonna go back to making more videos again soon. Just wanted to give myself a little bit of a break because it's been, it takes a toll on you seeing all this sad news. I'll make a thread about that later. All right, I'll see you guys. Thank you guys so much for showing up. I appreciate your support. And don't forget to share this video. You know, I appreciate all the love you guys have been showing for since I started this channel. But yeah, guys, take care. Stay informed. You're not alone, and I know you'll stay informed. Take care, guys. I'll have some interviews coming up soon, and those are going to be great with Max Blumenthal. I'm looking to have Ryan Christian back on the show and some other people, some other big names. So I look forward to that. Take care, everyone.